S11 partition as an example. Fermacell boards are fixed vertically to the studs. The board length corresponds to the room height, less a 5 to 10 mm gap at the top and bottom of the partition. Because of the density of Fermacell, the boards must be fixed using Fermacell self-countersinking 30 mm screws. Standard drywall screws are not recommended. The boards are only screwed to the vertical studs and never to the horizontal channels. The screwdriver must have a head speed of at least 3,500 RPM. When fitting the board, ensure the correct spacing for the studs is maintained. Marking the center of the panel makes it easier to find the studs. The vertical distance between fixings should be no more than 250 mm. However, this may vary according to construction, so check our instruction manual for details. Jointing the boards with Fermacell joint stick adhesive is fast and strong. Fermacell joint stick adhesive is applied to the edge of the fixed board as a 3 mm continuous feed. The homogeneous composition of Fermacell square-edged boards is particularly suited to this jointing technique. As the installation continues, the next board is fixed with a screw in the lower left-hand corner. A board lifter is then used to close the joint to no more than 1 mm. End-of-row pieces are cut on site by simply scribing the board and snapping off the excess. The board is scored with the rigid scoring blade, for example a Fermacell knife, and snapped off over the edge of the pallet. First fix can now take place. Electrical cables can easily be drawn through the preformed cutouts for transverse distribution. Service penetrations are created with either a jigsaw or a pad saw. A core drill can also be used. Noggins or support pads are not required. If required, insulation is installed between the studs at this stage. It must be fitted tightly to avoid gaps, which would otherwise reduce the insulation value of the partition. However, avoid overfilling the cavity, as this can cause acoustic bridging. Alternatives to mineral fibre are available and can be used in Fermacell partitions. The partitions have also been tested for fire and acoustic performance without insulation materials, for use in applications where ecological considerations are important. It's important to ensure Fermacell boards are installed symmetrically on the same studs. For example, the joints appear opposite each other. Staggering the studs, as in conventional drywall, may result in deformation of the partition. Where higher levels of sound or fire insulation are required, multiple layers of Fermacell can be fixed to each side of the partition. In this next sequence, we demonstrate double boarding, using a half-finished partition wall as an example. The first layer of 12.5 mm board is fitted to the studwork using screws at 250 mm centres. Boards must be fixed to the open side of the stud first. It's not necessary to use joint stick on the first layer. The second layer is fitted with the joints offset by at least 250 mm. The second layer of boards is butt jointed using joint stick adhesive. They may be fixed to the first layer with either diverging staples or Fermacell screws. Staples are applied at 120 mm centres vertically and at 400 mm centres horizontally. The strength of Fermacell allows screws or staples to be fitted as close as 10 mm from the edge of the board without cracking. The same general principles apply to fixing Fermacell to timber studwork. Boards may be screwed or stapled, and as with steel studwork, a minimum 50 mm fixing face is required. Boards are most effectively cut with a circular saw fitted with an integral dust extractor. Cutouts around doors are easily created by sawing the horizontal and scoring and snapping the vertical. By notching the boards as shown, the joint is moved away from the area of highest stress. Another faster alternative is to use a horizontal adhesive joint at door height. Fermacell joint stick adhesive allows horizontal joints to be made without noggins. Where horizontal joints do occur, these should be offset to prevent cross joints being formed. The adhesive cures in about 24 hours. The excess adhesive is then simply removed with a decorator's scraper. The joints and screw heads are stocked using Fermacell joint filler. The joint is then ready for papering or tiling.